Since he was so pleasant, honest, attentive, obedient, and intelligent, he could easily be the future vice president of the club if he ever decided to run for it. Previously, the other female candidates seemed decent enough until John showed up. Chloe immediately grabbed him by the hair, making him bow his head. John thought he was in serious trouble, but in reality, Chloe was pampering him because she planned to guide him well. That's why she invited him to eat, leaving John confused by her sudden change in demeanor. Gina was surprised to see Chloe bring a man to drink for the first time. She teased Chloe, saying she and John were now smoking buddies. At that moment, Gina also ordered food. John confirmed what Gina said, offering to accompany her if she ever felt lonely while smoking, even though Chloe wasn't happy about it. Gina was intrigued by how they met since Chloe had left earlier than everyone else. The blonde explained that she ran into him on the street because they were neighbors, which left Gina shocked. Gina mocked Chloe for moving so fast with this guy, even inviting him to drink with them. Chloe denied it, but Gina teased her further, joking that she might reach third base next time, which embarrassed Chloe and made John uncomfortable. Gina noticed John's reaction and clarified that it was just a little joke directed at Chloe. She then suggested that since Chloe now had someone to take her home, they could drink until they couldn't anymore. Chloe suspected Gina was using this as an excuse to go wild, but reluctantly agreed when Gina reminded her they were free the next day. Chloe asked John if he had plans for tomorrow, and he confirmed he didn't. Gina then warned him not to overexert himself if he couldn't keep up, saying she'd be partying like that all week. After finishing the first round, they were offered another. John was happy and enjoying himself, but Gina's intentions were clear from the start. She kept serving drinks to Chloe and John, who unwittingly fell into Gina's trap. The next morning, Chloe's phone was ringing, but she could barely move due to her pounding headache. She didn't remember much of what happened, only that she said goodbye to Gina before John carried her home like a sack of potatoes. The memory made her feel incredibly embarrassed. She apologized silently, only to hear a knock at the door. When she asked who it was, it turned out to be John, who was worried about her. This surprised Chloe, as she didn't know what to do and even considered pretending to be asleep. On the other hand, she realized she had caused John a lot of trouble. When he didn't hear any sounds, he thought she was still asleep. Chloe quickly got up, changed, and rushed to stop him. She greeted him and apologized for the trouble she caused, but John assured her it wasn't a bother. He brought her food and some water to help her recover, which Chloe appreciated. She asked how he was doing and apologized again for being a burden, but he didn't mind. However, John noticed something. Chloe had left her lights on. Suddenly, John remembered something he forgot and quickly excused himself, leaving Chloe to wonder about his actions. She thought he was a good guy until she felt a chill and realized she had indeed left the lights on. She felt like she was losing her mind over everything. After throwing a small tantrum, Chloe joked about wanting to go to heaven to escape her embarrassment. First, there was the kiss, then the events of the previous night where he had to carry her, and now the lights. She realized she had been completely careless. Now she worries about what John thinks of her. She was so embarrassed because she had ruined her image quite quickly. On the other hand, she thought it was nothing to begin with, but that didn't stop her from reliving the embarrassing situations she had gotten herself into. Now she feels pathetic as his superior because he might laugh at what she did. That's why she decided to act as if nothing had happened, something that seemed easy because if she pretended nothing happened, there would be no reason to feel embarrassed. Meanwhile, John's phone vibrated with a message from Chloe, inviting him to a hangover meal, confusing him with how sudden it was. While waiting, John was practicing his lines until he heard Chloe arrive as soon as possible. The blonde apologized for the delay, though he had just arrived as well. When he asked about the sudden invitation, she clarified it was to thank him for the previous night. They went to a delicious restaurant, something John would love and appreciate. While eating, Chloe was so uncomfortable because she didn't know how to act naturally. John noticed how well she ate, though she thought he might want to order something else. He denied this, but noticed that she seemed about to ask him something. She lied, saying it was about the morning meal he brought her. She then decided to directly ask if she had done anything strange the previous day because she normally didn't drink too much. However, since she hadn't been with Gina in a while, things had gotten out of control. She waited, embarrassed, for his answer. John found it all very amusing and said nothing had happened. However, he clarified what had occurred that day, as the girls had forced him to approach them, put him in the middle and threatened him, even hitting him to make him laugh. They kept playing with him non-stop. The funniest part was that, in the end, they took a photo as a keepsake of his humiliation. For Chloe, this sounded somewhat unreal because it wasn't something she would normally do. John continued, saying he had added a couple of details, but it all turned out to be true. After that, Chloe continued joking about having cold hands, insisting too much while laughing as if it was something she really wanted. As for the password to her house, the blonde fell asleep for 30 minutes, leaving John unsure of what to do. The last straw was when they finally reached her room, where Chloe wanted to rest comfortably, and John quickly said goodbye. Upon hearing this, Chloe asked him to stop because he was mortifying her with embarrassment. Some more trivial situations had happened, but the blonde couldn't bear to listen anymore. She apologized for the trouble she had caused, admitting that she didn't usually act like that with everyone, only with close friends. It was something she didn't even understand herself. For John, it meant she felt comfortable around him, which is why he invited her to eat later. Although Chloe felt incredibly embarrassed, she accepted the invitation. After the meal, they went for a walk near her house. That's when they saw a bird resembling a pigeon. Chloe remembered John's words and wondered why she felt so comfortable with him, despite sometimes causing him trouble. John always cared for her, so she wouldn't feel embarrassed and ruin the mood. In short, he was very sweet. That's why Chloe asked John not to tell anyone about that night. He assured her he wouldn't and said that if he ever felt bad, he hoped Chloe would take him home. They changed the subject and talked about how much they enjoyed good meals on weekends, especially when they had friends around, as it made the food even more enjoyable. This caught Chloe's attention, so John proposed continuing to eat together more often since food tasted better among friends. Chloe accepted the proposal, and he suggested the idea of creating a gourmet discovery club for her. That was the moment Chloe realized she truly felt at ease with him. From then on, they started eating together more often. That same night, Chloe received a photo from Gina with a happy expression about what had happened. The next day, while attempting to act out a part of the script, it turned out to be quite complicated as both John and Chloe had to get a bit closer. Chloe realized the difficulty and planned to talk to Hannah about modifying that part. However, to John, it seemed impossible. Chloe thought it could be adjusted a little, but Amy was present and wanted that scene removed altogether. Her sudden appearance startled Chloe. Amy really wanted the scene eliminated and annoyed Chloe with her flashlight to achieve it. Chloe suggested Amy talk to Hannah since it wasn't her decision to make, especially for such an important scene. Amy believed Chloe wanted to keep the scene with John because he was so handsome she couldn't resist. She also bothered Amode with the flashlight, and though Chloe found it annoying, she asked Amy to finish her work in a certain way. Amy decided to go talk to Hannah about changing that part, not realizing she always ended up being scolded. Meanwhile, John and Amode were looking for an easier way to perform that part of the script, practicing it more frequently until they heard Hannah's voice. She had arrived to hear about the problems with the script. By the way, poor Amy. Before they started, Chloe noticed Hannah's outfit while the other two were worried about what would happen. Chloe explained the situation to Hannah and asked if it was possible to tweak the script a bit. This made Hannah reflect, and upon seeing John and Amode, she wanted a demonstration before considering any changes. She told Amy to accompany her, surprising the three, especially Amode and John, who felt uncomfortable. As they were about to start acting, Amy, Hannah, and Chloe watched them, waiting long enough for the nerves to fade. When ready, John was about to begin his line when Gina arrived with some colleagues, yelling they were hungry. This surprised the group due to the interruption. More colleagues joined, looking to take a break and eat, making the lead actors even more nervous, as they were now being watched during rehearsal. Comments flooded in about how great they looked together. By the way, Emma was also there. The crowd grew so large they couldn't figure out how it had happened. Now, instead of just starting, they suddenly had an entire audience around them. For Chloe, it was a good opportunity since it would resemble the final show. Behind her, Emma asked what John and Amode were doing, while Hannah and Amy also watched attentively. Now the two actors were going to start their rehearsal, but performing with the crowd wasn't easy. They barely hugged a little, and the audience went wild. The pressure was so intense that John forgot his lines. They tried to start again, but the audience's chatter overshadowed them. Among all the girls, Gina was the only one visibly excited, something Hannah noticed as she and the other two didn't seem to be having fun. John and Amode felt like monkeys in a zoo during a show. Suddenly, their savior Chloe appeared and yelled at everyone to stop interrupting the performance. She warned them that if they kept bothering the actors, they should leave, as they were only intimidating her team. Her words eased the pressure a bit, calming Amy and Hannah, although the latter was more confused than anything. Later, Hannah was seen in the club as other girls said goodbye to their president. She overheard compliments about John's performance, which he humbly thanked. Hannah looked up and saw John, asking why he was working so late. She explained she had pending matters, something new to John. He kindly understood that Hannah didn't want him to see her in that state, as she usually stayed late. John comprehended this in a friendly manner, which embarrassed Hannah slightly, as she thought she had said something funny. John clarified he was happy to see her since it had been a while. However, to Hannah, it didn't feel like that long. She felt shy when John acted like a baby. John wanted to know her opinion about his performance, which she thought wasn't bad. She advised him not to get nervous, which made John happy, as hearing that from her meant they were on the right track. At that moment, Hannah took his hand and confessed that she initially thought she wouldn't feel anything seeing him and Emoti act together. But after watching them that day, she felt so jealous she now knew she made a mistake choosing him as the lead actor. John found her confession sweet and asked why she chose him for the play. Hannah jokingly offered to play the heroine herself and act alongside him in front of everyone, surprising John. However, it was a lie. Hannah knew John would agree to act in the play, but wasn't crazy enough to actually do it herself. But seeing his reaction, she might change her mind. John didn't agree because it could cause problems. Hannah explained it was just a joke, though what wasn't a joke was giving him a little kiss, although he didn't understand. Now Hannah wanted to spend time with him, so she began kissing him on the cheek. John still thought she was talking about acting in the play. Hannah wanted him to guess the topic of conversation until John caught her hint, clarifying that he wouldn't fall for her games now. However, Hannah found it very funny because she was just teasing him. She wanted a little kiss and then she would let him go. But since John didn't understand, Hannah told him no one else was around and that she had a Bible in the back room so they could read it. During that private moment, they talked about how they met and what they had become, something they both enjoyed. Hannah also wanted to discuss adult matters like taxes, but John didn't understand and commented that the session ended too quickly, which hurt Hannah's pride. Afterward, John apologized, and they continued. Hannah eventually confirmed that it did end too quickly and even said she was thirsty. 2 days passed, and we see Chloe reporting on all the groups to Hannah, who hadn't attended the day before because her body hurt. Chloe joked it was due to old age and told her to take care of herself, since there were only a few days left until the play. Although Hannah wouldn't be acting, she asked Chloe to take care of herself too and rest. After hanging up, they continued their rehearsal while John gave Am a relaxing head massage, something that intrigued Chloe. But before that, the blonde wanted to talk to the two guys, explaining that they couldn't remove the last part because it would ruin the play. Now they had to find a way to practice it in the short time they had. Fortunately, they already knew their lines perfectly. When asked how many days were left, John said it was Saturday, so 5 days, but Am corrected him, saying it was 3. Chloe clarified it was only 3 because Thursday and Friday would be used for final preparations. Since there were no issues with the other parts, they'd focus on using the same method for the kiss scene. Am agreed but wanted to try something different this time. A real kiss, like the one Chloe had done with John. When John asked Chloe if she was okay with it, it seemed simple to her since the stage was the setting. Chloe, however, didn't think it was necessary, arguing that the same effect could be achieved by playing with angles and lighting. Emily objected, insisting on a real kiss because otherwise the audience would be dissatisfied. She apologized for the time it might take, but then became disheartened, doubting that John would agree, and considered dropping the idea altogether. Both John and Chloe noticed her sudden change in mood. However, John agreed to the idea, clarifying that he loved kissing and wanted to try it. Am was encouraged again, grateful for the suggestion which she never thought she'd hear. John's enthusiasm disgusted Chloe, though he reminded her that she also loved kissing. He was about to reveal something else she had said, but Chloe, embarrassed, covered his mouth and insisted they get to practice. That same afternoon, they practiced the kiss between Am and John. All 3 were very nervous, so much so that Am suddenly stopped the practice, taking a break and apologizing profusely. She admitted she wanted to do it, but felt shy. Even so, she promised to give it her best. John reassured her to take it easy and blamed herself for not being able to make the kiss as spectacular as Chloe's, which embarrassed the blonde. Am then asked Chloe how she seemed so confident. Chloe explained, quite flustered, that it was just a simple kiss. John preferred to start by holding hands, though Chloe, feeling a bit defeated, suggested they eat something first. Afterward, they played rock, paper, scissors, which Am lost to Chloe's odd scissors choice. Now Chloe would go get the food outside the building, sent by Hannah. While alone, John proposed playing a prank, though it didn't make much sense given how often they ordered food. During this moment, John asked Chloe for advice since he was very nervous about the big show. His comment made Chloe laugh. John wanted to know if the blonde had ever been a protagonist before, and she mentioned the previous year. John wanted to see the video, but Chloe adamantly refused to show him. At that moment, John wondered if he'd do well. Something Chloe noticed. She pinched him, telling him she believed it was very possible. Chloe had seen everyone's efforts, so she knew they would do well, especially John's. She reminded him not to underestimate anyone, as everyone would give their best to support him. For that reason, she didn't want him to worry or be afraid. John noticed this kindness so much that it almost brought him to tears. He finally saw the blonde's gentleness, understanding many things. Because of their hunger, they could already smell the food as Am arrived proudly, as if she were the savior. After a good meal, they were all very full, but Chloe wanted to say something about one of Am's lines. It didn't sound quite right, and not even Am knew how to fix it. Chloe suggested changing it to give it a better tone and highlight Am's voice, demonstrating how it could sound. This surprised the others, who praised Chloe's sweet voice so much that they joked she should record ASMR videos, which embarrassed her. Chloe thanked them, but insisted they continue practicing while John kept teasing her about the ASMR idea. Emily suddenly remembered something, brushing her teeth, and Chloe decided to do the same. John, feeling left out because of the girls' preparations, thought they were excluding him. But in reality, it was because they were about to kiss, and Chloe suggested he brush his teeth too. However, John didn't have anything to use, which made him panic, worrying that he would smell like fried squid. The girls were speechless but quickly gave him mouthwash and mints to help. Even after being prepared and mentally ready, they struggled to make progress. They kept finding excuses not to proceed. Chloe eventually asked if they were okay since, after 2 hours, they were still too nervous to kiss. Later, Am apologized for wasting time, but Chloe encouraged her to keep trying. John proposed they watch videos of kissing for inspiration, though Chloe lightly scolded him for his silly idea. Emily felt she couldn't back out after suggesting this, so she asked John to stay with her for extra practice, apologizing to Chloe for wasting her time, but promising not to give up. John, seeing Am's determination, also decided to stay. They didn't ask Chloe to stay since they knew how busy she was, even though, in reality, Chloe had nothing else to do. She thought her presence might pressure them more, so she decided to head home. Both John and Am thanked Chloe for her patience and wished her a safe trip home. Chloe wished them luck in their efforts and said goodbye. As she walked away, she felt a bit sad about the situation. She didn't fully understand her feelings, brushing them off as though her best friend preferred spending time with someone else, not realizing she was feeling jealous. At that moment, she ran into Emmy and Gina. Gina invited them to her house, and Chloe explained that John and Am were staying behind to rehearse. Yet in Chloe's mind, questions about her feelings lingered. She recalled what John had once said about feeling comfortable with her during a meal. For Chloe, that feeling wasn't just comfort, it was something more. Meanwhile, John devised a strategy to achieve his goal with Am. He suggested they think about a type of food they could use to simulate rubbing their lips together. Some of Am's ideas were gross, though, leading her to call John squid. However, in that region, the term was slang for unattractive people, so John thought she was teasing him. Still, they gave the acting another try, getting closer and closer. Just when it seemed to be working, Am burst out laughing because she remembered a funny show, which irritated John since she seemed hysterical. After calming down, Am apologized and said she was ready to continue. Although John was still nervous, they resumed the scene, each focusing on their chosen food. Finally, they succeeded in kissing, surprising themselves. Their plan had worked so well that they ran out of the school laughing and parted ways, only realizing later that they had actually kissed. The next day, Chloe was preparing to leave when she heard a voice. It was John, waiting for her. He invited her to walk to the university together, which she accepted, though she was curious if he had really been waiting for her. During their walk, Chloe asked how the practice had gone. John told her they succeeded, though it was quite difficult. Hearing this, Chloe froze. John continued, explaining the strategy they used to overcome their nerves. Chloe congratulated him on the hard work they put in, though John didn't see it as such. Chloe pointed out how great they were. Still, John wanted her to support them during that day's practice. Chloe, upon hearing this, explained that she couldn't because she had pending matters, but if she had time, she would go see them. John understood how busy she was, so they would continue practicing to make everything perfect. The blonde apologized for the inconvenience, although in her mind, she cursed herself for not understanding why she was avoiding the boys. Later, we see Chloe at the club, feeling regretful because she knew she might cause a commotion. Gina noticed this and asked her if she didn't have things to do since she was slacking off. Even though Chloe claimed she was busy, Gina understood it was a love-related problem and assured Chloe she'd be there for her no matter what. Chloe confessed that she was worried about something unimportant, questioning her own changing mentality lately. She recalled how good John was with words and how kind he was as a person. Gina stopped her whining and reminded Chloe that she needed to be with her juniors for rehearsal. However, Chloe wanted to stay there a little longer, asking Gina to go in her place for a while. Deep down, Chloe didn't want to see anything because she believed they could manage without her. She convinced herself not to go, but deep down, she wished John would come looking for her. She even complained aloud that they were doing just fine without her. Gina knew it was because Chloe was an excellent tutor and thought the boys would be waiting for her to check on them. Chloe, on the other hand, realized she was throwing a tantrum because she wanted to monopolize John for herself, unsure of what to do. Meanwhile, Gina was singing a love song to her in the auditorium. We see John and Am at the auditorium trying to use the same method as the day before, but they made no progress. Both knew it wouldn't work the same way because they had been so distracted the day before that they managed to succeed without realizing it. John really wanted Chloe to be there to help them. Hearing this, Am once again apologized for dragging him into the same show, but he confessed that he also enjoyed participating. Seeing Am's motivation made him want to give his best effort as well. John wanted the girl to insult him if he did things wrong, thinking it would help him act better. Am jokingly did as he asked, but then proposed doing everything in one go since it would be simpler. John saw this as a good idea. Both were so excited that they started from the first act. Meanwhile, Chloe was on her way to the auditorium, thinking about what she would say to the boys when she entered. She felt nervous about what might happen, but she was determined, given the little time they had left, to separate her feelings from work. Upon entering and apologizing for being late, she saw something that left her frozen. She saw Am and John kissing, which deeply hurt Chloe. This is how we end this third part. I'll leave you with the intrigue and the pain of my dear Chloe. Now I think she should stay with John. I hope you liked it. Leave your lovely like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell for more.